Okay, so we are working through the discriminant questions found in your notes. The previous video we went through questions 1 to 4. In this video we're going through questions 5 to 9. But these questions 5 to 9 are a bit hairy, so I might only do one question per video. We'll see how we go. So let's do question 5 together. So the equation this has no real roots. Find the set of possible values of k. All right. So we know we have no real roots. That's going to be important. But before we address that, let's look at the equation they've given us and let's realize that it's not in the form that we like. So I'm going to write it in the form that we like. So I'm going to have this here minus 3x plus k plus 2 is equal to 0. So that's better. Okay, now they've told us that our discriminant they've told us we have no real roots, which means that our discriminant is going to be less than 0. So I would now write out my discriminant as being b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. I then identify my a, b, and c values. My a value will be k. My b value will be -3, and my c value will be k plus 2. So it's a good thing that we rearranged it because it allows me to identify my a, b, and c values. I then am going to plug those into my discriminant. So b squared will be -3 squared, which will be 9, minus 4 times k will be 4k, and then I'm timesing it by my c, which will be k plus 2 is less than 0. I'm going to expand out my bracket, so I'm going to get 9 minus 4k squared minus 8k is less than 0. Then I'm going to rearrange it in the form that I like it, with my squared value being first. So I'm going to get minus 4k squared minus 8k plus 9 equals 0. I don't like it when I have a negative in front of my first term, so I'm going to divide both sides by the negative. So I'm going to get 4k squared plus 8k minus 9. I'm going to have to swap my inequality because I'm dividing across by a negative. So it's going to be that 4k plus 8k, 4k squared plus 8k minus 9 is greater than 0. All right, now, as I said, these questions are a bit hairy, and the reason for that is because in order for me to find now what k is, remember that is what we're trying to do, find the value of k, I'm actually going to have to use the quadratic formula. So my quadratic formula here, let me choose a new color, let me go orange, will be k equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And just to make sure I don't make any mistakes, I would really recommend that you write out your a, b, and c values here. So my a value will be 4, my b value will be 8, and my c value will be -9. I then am going to plug them into my quadratic formula. Minus b will be minus 8 plus or minus the square root of b squared will be 64. I'm going to get minus 4 times 4 times -9 over 2 times 4, which will be k equals -8 plus or minus the square root of 64 minus 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 9 is 144, and I've got two negatives, so it's going to be plus 144. This is where mistakes would happen, and it's very easy for it to happen there. 2 times 4 is 8. So that means I'm going to get k is equal to minus 8 plus or minus the square root of 208 over 8. All right, now I'm going to get k is equal to -8 plus or minus 208 can be represented by 16 and 13 over 8. I'm running out of room. I might be able to fit one more line here. So I'm going to get k is equal to -8 plus or minus the square root of 16 is 4, the square root of 13, I might have to scroll down here, hopefully I have room, or I don't have much room, divided by 8. So that means, let me just do this, that means I'm going to get k is equal to, I'm going to divide this by 4, everything by 4, so I'm going to get -2 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 2. -2 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 2. That will be my k value. Alright, but we're not out of the woods yet. So let me do something cool. Let me take this, copy, let me come back up here, paste it. So I have this value here. I also have this over here. So now I need to figure out what my k value is in order that this produces values greater than 0. So this is an inequality question and a discriminant question coming together. And this is the baby that they've made. So I now need to graph this in order to figure it out. So let me do this in blue. Let me do it in orange. So I'm going to have something here. So this is going to be, this spot here is going to be -2 minus the square root of 13 over 2. And over here will be 2 plus the square root of 13 over 2. And this is going to be a graph that looks something like this. And I'm looking for values of k which gives me a positive output. So I'm looking here and I'm looking here. Alright, so let me go down. So that means that the k values which correspond to these areas will be, k will be equivalent to -infinity to -2 minus the square root of 13 over 2, close brackets, and it's going to be a circle bracket because it's not greater than or equal to the union of this 2 plus the square root of 13 over 2. Oops, I've made a mistake, sorry. This should be minus. That should be a minus. And I'm not doing this video again, this has taken too long. -2 minus the square root of 13 over 2 with a union of -2 plus the square root of 13 over 2. Okay, that's good. And then I'm going to go all the way to infinity, close my brackets. So -infinity to here, then here to infinity. And let me just double check that I've got the right answer here. That is correct. All right, I'm stopping there because that was an absolute beast of a question. So this is why I make these videos. These questions can be a bit hairy. Hopefully this kind of shows you the logic of how you would approach it. If you're having any trouble with this question, please come and talk to me. We can discuss it because this is kind of an amalgamation of two previous topics, discriminant and quadratic inequalities, which have come together and produced this. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you. And again, come talk to me if any of this is challenging.